we had this crack up of America's establishment, let's call it, of its elites, in the 1960s. And I was just barely old enough, as a kind of preteen to be aware that something was going on there. We've had, I think, a much more profound failure of elites right now. We're living through this right now. And some of this has to do with the scorn and disdain that educated Americans have, many educated Americans have, for the American experiment and for our founding principles. They're not so bad. They offer something for everybody, and I think really unlimited promise. And they also they also allow us, as the anthem says, to repair thine every flaw. There's all of that is there, but that's, I think, somewhat overlooked by our educated, or by at least a large swath of our miseducated elite. There's a lack of confidence in our country and in the future, and a lack of empathy and solidarity with other people in the society, sort of class enemies or thought crime committers. And I don't know if we've ever had it as acute as this in the post-Civil War era. I mean, when I try to think about analogies, I'm sure there are analogies, but I think you have to go back a long way. And kind of bad things happen when you look for analogies on some of those storylines. We also have this.
I totally agree with that, by the way. I think it was not as bad in the Johnson era or in the Jimmy Carter era or whatever you had. It was, you could be a blue or red and you still could drink a beer together. Sure. Now you can't. You have to go back to the 1870s or 80s.
Yeah, you have to go back a very long way. Of course, I mean, the corollary of that is we were able to heal after that, and I think we'll be able to heal after this as well. But we have to start by diagnosing the problems and, again, calling the animals by their proper name. Because one of the immense problems that we confront now, and this is part of the elite failure, has been the death of truth in the public square. We didn't have this in anything like the same form in the radical 60s or the convulsed 70s. But now the academy has become a censor zone against free speech, and where there are lots of forbidden thoughts. Our news media has gone from its, inveterate bias to active propaganda. I mean, propaganda is a war on truth. We have it in the corporate sector, where we now have the HR departments as kind of like roving Stasi units, and need say nothing about our social media platforms with the overlords and the censorship, and it's not just it's not just there, but we have much less, because of this elite failure. We've got much less freedom in our country than at any time in my life. And I at least can remember when America was a lot more free than it is now. If you're 30 years old, you can't really remember when America had a healthy economy, or when you were allowed to have free debate without being punished, when you didn't have to worry that you'd be hunted or doxxed for controversial, heretical ideas. All of this is, if you talk with young people about what it was like, it's like Grandpa's war stories. This is a world that they don't know. And empathizing with this, I think, is critically important for bringing us out of this current morass.